Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today, I am so incredibly honored to have a conversation with actor Michael Sheen. To name just a few things Michael has been in: Frost Nixon, Masters of Sex, Prodigal Son, Good Omens, Staged, and Home Again, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, um, and so much more. Um, Thank you so much for being on my show. I'm so excited to be talking with you.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for asking me, Maya.
Yeah. So let's get started. So, who has had the biggest impact on you professionally?
Whew. Well, as I've got older, I've realized how many people it took to give me the opportunities that I've had, really, in my life and in my career. When I was younger, I thought it was all just down to me and how brilliant I was. And then as I got older, I realized that, I was in a youth theatre when I was younger, when I was a teenager. And that youth theatre really is the reason why I'm in this business, how I became an actor and the kind of actor I became. And there was a man called Godfrey Evans who set up that youth theatre and ran it. And he changed the lives of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who came through that youth theatre, whether they went into the profession or not. The things that we learned in that youth theatre, I think we've taken with us into our lives ever since. And I know that as an actor, I think about that time in my life, and I think about the things I learned there every day, pretty much. So I would probably say that it was that man, Godfrey Evans, who set up the local youth theatre that I came through.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Um, so who has had the biggest impact on you personally?
Whew. These are hard questions, but they seem simple, but they're really hard. Um, I suppose probably, well, first of all, of course, my parents were very supportive of me going into this profession. I've realized again as I've got older, not everybody has parents who are supportive of them, and so that made a huge difference to me. And but I think, at this point in my life now, looking back on everything, I think it's probably my children. I have three children. Uh, and I think probably the experience of having children has changed me in ways that it's impossible to describe really. And I would be a very different person had it not been for having my children. So I guess that means that they've had the biggest influence on me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Um, so if you had a warning label, what would yours say? Yeah.
Light fuse and stand well back.
I like that one.
That's an excellent question.
Thank you. Um, what has been the biggest obstacle you've overcome?
Ooh, well, I think the biggest obstacles to overcome. I mean, there are always plenty of obstacles, obviously, in life, that we come up against, and particularly, I think, as an actor, the idea of trying to audition for things and not getting jobs and all that kind of stuff. Um, there's a lot of obstacles, but ultimately, I think the hardest obstacles that we have to overcome are the ones that are inside us, internal obstacles, about self-confidence and
Yeah.
self-belief. And when I was a younger actor, I had no issues with self-confidence and self-belief. I was like, I had so much self-confidence. I never doubted for a second that I wasn't going to do what I wanted to do. I don't know why I had that kind of confidence. I guess because of how supportive the background I was, that I'd come from. My family supportive. I came from a supportive community. I'd gone through this youth theatre. So I'd had a lot of opportunities and advantages that I'd sort of taken for granted a little bit. And so that confidence really held me in good stead. But as I've got older, And I think as you start to realize how much you've got to lose, or indeed how much it isn't just down to you, how much it is down to other people, what you've done, then you can start to have a kind of a crisis of confidence late on in life. I think you can start to get lose a bit of self-belief, because life knocks the edges off you a bit.
Yeah.
So you gain some things, obviously, but I think you also lose some things. So I think that the biggest obstacles have come as time has gone on, and it's usually about that inner thing. And I think probably, yes, but I think probably ultimately the biggest obstacle is about comparing yourself to other people, because that is sort of poisonous, I think, and
Yeah.
when you start to, everyone's on their own journey and everyone's got their own path. And if you start sort of looking at other people and thinking, oh, why am I not doing that? Or why, that can be really corrosive, I think. And that can, you have to sort of go back to what it is your instinct is telling you, what your dream is and what your heart is saying to you, and try not to compare yourself to other people. So I think probably it's that. Ultimately, the biggest obstacle has been about not trying to be distracted by comparing myself to other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. That
Right. Yeah.
is, yeah, like, yeah, that's a big struggle.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yes. Whether it's to do with your profession or just in life generally, isn't it? It's sort of,
Yeah.
we're constantly being shown versions of life that we're being told, unless we've got that, then we can't be happy. And you think, well, I haven't got that. Well, so I
Yeah.
must be terrible. I must be having an awful life. I think
Yeah.
that's quite hard to deal with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so what small things bring you joy on a daily basis?
Oh gosh. I think I think I've been very lucky, and I don't know why this is really, but I've been very lucky that I have always found joy in the smallest of things. The if a certain kind of light when I walk out of the door in the morning will fill me with happiness, or seeing an interaction between people, overhearing a snippet of conversation on the bus, or when you're walking along the street, or really simple things, I find great joy in, and can be really lifted by. And then, like I say, with my children, it's there's a lot of challenges and a lot of difficulties, but there's so much amazing joy and happiness and beauty out there if you sort of open yourself to it. And I found that it's very easy to be sort of overwhelmed by what's difficult and what's sad and what's frightening and what's dark in the world. Um, but if you can open yourself up to also be moved by what is beautiful and joyful and generous and kind,
Yeah.
then there's always around you. There's something that will lift your heart, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, that one of my favorite things is, yeah, just finding the small things every day that just like make me happy. And
Yeah, and I think it's a practice. I think
yeah.
you have to practice it, being grateful for things and being open to what is
Yeah.
positive around you. It doesn't come necessarily easily, and I think I do have to remind myself every day of what I'm grateful for, what's happened that day, and what I feel very grateful for experiencing and having the opportunity to do. And I'll try and remind myself before I go to sleep of things that have happened that day, or things I've seen or heard that have made me happy, because I think you do have to you do have to practice at it. It's like a muscle.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. So what is your favorite way to procrastinate?
um I mean, I do just love sitting on the sofa and watching TV. I love these. I think you probably have them over there as well, but we have these programs over here where people are looking for uh, uh, holiday homes in other countries. I think it's, a place in the
Um,
sun, it's called over here. There's one,
oh,
and there's a few things like that. And I would quite happily just sit with my feet up and put one of those programs on, watch people going and looking for
yeah.
looking for homes in other countries in the sunshine. I just find it so relaxing and enjoyable. And I think really a lot of people say to me that I seem really busy and I'm always doing things and I'm never stopping. And I think ultimately it's because I feel like if left to my own devices, all I would do is just sit there and watch TV. I wouldn't do anything else. So I have to make myself do things,
Oh,
um, because I am a natural procrastinator. Yeah.
oh, yeah. Yeah, I try not to procrastinate, but that doesn't always work.
No.
Yeah.
Procrastination will always find a way.
Yes. Yeah. Um, so I am pop culture obsessed and I go in stages of shows that I cannot stop watching. Is
Mm.
there a show that you are currently obsessed with?
Oh, what have I been watching recently? Um, well, we for the second time went through Schitt's Creek, which just is one of the greatest shows of all time, I
Yeah.
think. We watched the whole thing, and then recently we watched the whole thing again. Um, and I absolutely loved that. Um, and what else have I been watching recently? Um, hmm. I mean, I love a good drama, and we're always, looking out for a good drama to watch. Um, and oh, we've sort of finished watching the new series of House of the Dragon, and enjoyed that. And we're about to start watching the new Lord of the Rings series, and also there's a new season of Slow Horses. Do you watch Slow Horses? Do you know that one?
Yeah, I do know it. I haven't seen it, but I know of it.
It's really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. So it's always very exciting to know you've got something lined up to watch. So the
Yeah.
new season of that, I'm very much looking forward to.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I every time I see like an ad for slow horses, I'm always like, I want to watch that. It looks so
Mm.
good. And then
It
I
is. It's
haven't
very
yet,
good.
but
It's really good. The writing is really good, and all the actors are great. And Gary Oldman, who's the main actor, I've been a huge fan of his since I was very young. And I remember when I was at drama school watching all of Gary Oldman's stuff, and he was a big inspiration for me. So to see him, his career has just been amazing, and to see him doing this now again, it's just brilliant. So yeah, I would highly recommend that.
yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm writing that down. Um, since you mentioned that you love dramas, have you ever seen the show A Million Little Things?
And no, I haven't watched that one. I've
Oh,
heard of it, but I've not seen it.
yeah, it's so good. When it just had its final season aired last year, so it's off the air now, but it's one of my favorite shows. It's so good. So if you
Right.
ever are looking for another drama, I highly recommend A
Right.
Million Little Things.
Okay, great. Oh, and the other thing that's on at the moment, so we've got to a very good time of the year here in Britain because the new series of the Great British Bake Off has begun. So we're a couple of weeks into that. And also we're a couple of weeks into the new series of Strictly Come Dancing. So like I think it's Dancing with the Stars that you have, isn't it? So
Oh,
those two shows are big, big shows over here, and everyone gets very excited for those. So and we've got those. We go through the summer and there's not much on TV, to be honest. And then when you get Bake Off and Strictly starting, then you've got stuff to watch now for the rest of the year, which is
yeah.
great.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I love just finding a good show to just binge watch and just
Oh, yeah,
become obsessed with.
absolutely. There's nothing better, is there?
No, yeah, there's not. Yeah. Um, so what is the greatest lesson you have learned from a character you have played?
Oh, wow. From a character I've played. Oh, gosh. Well, I suppose um, when I played David Frost in the film Frost Nixon, and I'd done the play on stage for a long time before we did the film. So I was playing that character for a long time and telling that story. Um, and I always really admired his his resilience and that he never gave up, you know. And when things looked like there was no way through, and he had really messed up, and he put all his money into this venture, and it looked like it wasn't going anywhere, he just stayed in there and kept digging away, and came through it and had this remarkable success with the interviews. And so I always remember that, and that even though people kind of wrote him off and thought that he was a lightweight and that kind of stuff, he stuck to his guns and kept going and succeeded in the end. So his resilience, I've been really struck by that. That's the first thing that pops into my head, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I suppose also getting to play a character for a very long time. So the character I've played for the longest time was Bill Masters in the series Masters of Sex. So I did that over a number of years. And to be able to play someone who goes through such a change in their life. I mean, when we started that story, he was a very, very uptight character and very rigid and very cut off from himself and cut off from other people. And it was a wonderful opportunity over a number of years to explore a character who, because of his sort of traumatic past and the difficulties he'd had in his childhood, that had made him into one kind of a person. And to be able to see someone changing over a long, long period of time. Because, you know, when you do a film or something, the characters go through changes, but it happens very, very quickly because of the nature of, you know, a 90 or 120-minute film. The changes all happen very in a condensed way. But when you tell a story over, you know, multiple seasons, you've got the time and the space to really show how change really does happen in life. And so we had the opportunity to do that. So I was really struck by how someone was able to sort of work through the traumas of the past in order to kind of free themselves, and to really change over the period of their life. So that was also another thing, turning very dark experiences into something lighter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I love that. Um, do you have a go-to comfort show or movie?
Ooh. Well, I would say, well, Schitt's Creek, having watched it all twice, I will always happily, you know, if there's an episode of that on, I'll watch that. I'll always watch an episode of Seinfeld if that's on, you know, when you're flicking through channels and that's on. Um, and uh, and also over here in Britain, for years and years now, there's always an episode of Frasier on in the morning on a channel here, and so I'll very happily watch an episode of Frasier as well. I love those shows. And films, I think probably, I mean, I was trying to think actually, funnily enough, yesterday about what is the film I've watched the most in my life. And it's probably The Wizard of Oz, I think, um, that I've seen probably the most times. And I do love that film. And that's sort of a comfort film, I think, probably as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Frasier is one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
I love that show.
Ah,
Yeah.
it's great when you've got the combination
Yeah.
of a show that you really enjoy watching, and there are so many episodes of it. That is
Yeah.
a great combination, isn't it?
Yes.
I think that's similar with Seinfeld as well, or Cheers. You know, shows like that. You can just sort of dip into them and watch an episode every now and again, and it's
Yeah.
always enjoyable. It always makes you feel better.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, yeah, what Home Again is one of my comfort movies. I've seen it more times than I can count. I
Oh wow! Wow!
Yeah, I've lost track of how many times I've seen it. So
Right.
yeah.
Oh, that's so lovely. I had a lovely time doing that. It was wonderful. working with Reese on that. She's a lovely, lovely person and a fantastic actress. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we had a great family, all the kids as well, and it was really terrific to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so what is something that people are always surprised to learn about you?
Ooh, I'm not sure. I don't know what people would be surprised because I'm never sure what people are thinking before they meet me. So I don't know what would be surprising, you know. Um, I wonder. I think probably, well, I don't know if it's still the case, but it used to be that because I had done a lot of theatre and Shakespeare and that kind of stuff, that people sort of would think that I was a very sort of serious person, and I'd done dramas and would think that I was going to be this very earnest, serious person. And I think people are quite surprised when they realise what a sort of stupid, goofy sense of humor I have, and how much I just sort of mess around. I think that's probably quite surprising. But I guess nowadays that's less of a surprise because people have seen me I've been able to do more of that kind of thing in my work as well. So it's
Yeah.
not as surprising. But earlier on, definitely, I think people thought I was going to be this very straight-laced classical actor who
Mm.
does lots of Shakespeare and doesn't make jokes and is a very serious actor. And then would be surprised when they just saw how daft I was, really.
Mm. Um, what show or movie do you find yourself quoting more often than you would like?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I find myself referencing things from Friends almost constantly.
Yeah.
I find myself saying, it's a bit like when Joey comes in and he's wearing all his clothes. Or, it's a bit like that moment when Phoebe, I find myself constantly referring back to Friends. And it's not something by choice. I love Friends. I absolutely
Yeah.
love it. But I feel like my references should be a lot more highbrow than that. And yet, the thing that I find myself, yeah, going back to again and again is Friends.
Oh, yeah. I quote Friends all the time, and
Mm.
then the show Will and Grace. Um
Yes,
I
yes.
quote that all the time too. And most people get Friends, not everybody gets Will and Grace, so then I
Right.
have to explain it to them.
Yes. Oh, Jack in Will and Grace is one of
Yeah.
the great comic performances on TV, I think.
Yeah. He is. Yeah, when my mom first showed my sister and I Will and Grace, I still say it. I still joke that Jack is my spirit animal. There's so
Yes.
many things he does that I'm just like, I can kind of, see myself saying that or like doing that.
Yes.
So
Yeah, it's such a
yeah,
brilliant blend of qualities, and he's very
yeah,
childlike and sort of in
yeah,
lots of ways, and yet he's so funny and
yeah,
and mean in other ways. He's just brilliant. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely brilliant.
He is, yeah. Yeah. So I just have one more question for you.
Mhm.
Um I love inspiring and motivational quotes, and this week the one that spoke to me is by Mandy Hale, and it says happiness is letting go of what you think your life is supposed to look like and celebrating it for everything that it is. Is there a
Excellent.
quotation that has inspired you lately?
That's a wonderful quotation. Yeah, I think more and more I realize that life is about letting go of things, and
Yeah,
and all the good stuff and all the bad stuff. Being able to let go, move on, and deal with what is rather than what you would wish it to be, I think is a wonderful thing. There's that the other quote that I find myself thinking about a lot is the John Lennon quote: "The life is what happens to you whilst you're making other plans." I've discovered that for all the plans I make, and I'm going to do this, and this is what's going to happen. Life takes you in some strange and surprising directions, and being open to that, I think, is important. But I think the one that has that has sort of affected me the most is to be the change you wish to see in the world. I think it can be very easy to comment on life and comment on what people are doing and say what you think is wrong and what should happen and why people are idiots and why people are doing things
Yeah.
wrong. And it's quite hard to live that and to be it, you know. And if you want to see things done differently, or if you want to see the world be a different place, then you need to be that difference. You know, you have to live it,
Yeah.
and it stops you from sitting on the sidelines, and it makes you have to engage with life. And I think that's a really, really good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Yeah. Um, well, that was my final question for you. I'm so starstruck by you. I can't believe I'm actually talking with you right now. So,
Oh, well, those were fantastic questions, Maya. I really enjoyed it.
thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Yeah, thank you. I have had the best time talking with you, and I so appreciate your taking the time and joining me.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's been lovely speaking to you, Maya.
Thank you. You
Thank you.
too. Thank you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go and look for an episode of Frasier to watch.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah. Um, yeah, and that's a wrap on today's edition of The Latest with Maya.